Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Newcastle podcast. My name is Michael Grahamslaw and I'm your host for today's episode, but I do have two guests with me today. Firstly, I'm joined by Kev. How's it going, Kev?
Excellent. Very, very good. What a rich vein of form Newcastle are in. It makes it a lot easier to talk about them, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you can tell we're all a little bit more positive, particularly myself in these happy
I'm always
winter
positive.
months.
I was going to say, take that back. I'm always positive.
But we are also joined by the wonderful Iain Mackay. How's it going, Iain?
Wonderful. It's going great. Yes. It is going wonderful. Isn't it going wonderful? My word. The number of people who've said, oh, this is the game, this is the one where the wheels come off, and it hasn't yet. So, what about Arsenal, though?
Eddie's mighty minds.
Yet. Yet being the main word, indeed. Now, it is a Tuesday, so everyone knows what that means. It should be a Tactics Tuesday episode. However, well, tonight, when this goes out, Newcastle travel to the Emirates to take on Arsenal in the first leg of our Carabao Cup Semi-final. So we're going to be reviewing that huge fixture today instead. But with this game being the first of two legs, and Arsenal heading to St James's Park next month, my first question to you both is, how do you think Newcastle should approach the game? Do we try and go toe-to-toe with Arsenal? Maybe start like we did at St James's Park against them? Or do we try and play on the counter-attack, keep the game tight, and remain in the game for the second leg? What do you think, Kev?
That's a great question. It's interesting. I think normally I would say, yes, go there, try and counter. I know it won't be a popular opinion with most fans when we're playing so well, but I would say try and counter, hurt them with Isak and Gordon, etc. But when I've been watching Arsenal recently, which granted isn't every game, but the games I've seen this season, they seem like quite a counter-attacking football team as well. They like to not have the ball as much, get the odd corner, and turn into almost a Stoke 2.0 from the Tony Pulis era. So it's going to be really interesting. I think with the form Arsenal are in, I'm now more inclined to say we can get at them and we can go at them, but we don't have Bruno, so that fantastic midfield three, which I'm sure will get plenty more mentions in this episode because they are now being touted as the best midfield in the Premier League, which is lovely to hear as a Newcastle fan.
So.
So with Bruno not being there, that means I think I'd love to see Willock, but he might bring in Longstaff because it's an away game. I think it all depends on who comes in for Bruno. If it's Willock, I think it'll send a message of, we're coming for you, we're going to attack you, we're going to go high intensity, we're going to try and hurt you. I think if he starts Longstaff, it might be a little bit of a message of, okay, we're going to sit, we're going to back ourselves defending against you, and then we're going to try and kill you on the break. I think the wonderful thing is this Newcastle team, for the last 3 years, always have a plan. Whether that's counter-attack or whether that's starting on the front foot and being aggressive. We always have a plan in terms of how do we win this game. So I think we will be approaching it to win it. You hear Eddie Howe and Bruno and everybody talk about every game's an opportunity to win, which I love hearing as a fan, obviously. So I think we will go to win it. I think how we do it will depend on who comes in. Will it be Longstaff or Willock? But yeah, Arsenal's a strange one at the minute. They seem to be a little bit more negative than normal.
Oh, 100%. I think the Brighton game in particular, you looked at and went, Brighton really could have gone away with all 3 points. Yep. But less on the Arsenal, more on the Newcastle. So, Iain, what do you think? How are we going to set up? Are we going to be toe-to-toe attacking or a bit more counter-attacking?
I don't think Arsenal, as Kevin said, I don't think Arsenal are all-out attack at home. I mean, they were when we were dreadful, turning up with a reserve team last year. They beat us 4-0 and we were lucky to get 0, or did we get 1 right at the end? I can't remember.
We got 1 through Willock, yeah.
We got stuffed, didn't we? I much prefer to think of the game from 2 years ago where we SH1T housed our way to a goalless draw and really annoyed the hell out of them. That would be a perfect way of doing it. I don't think we've got to do that, though. I don't think Arsenal are anywhere near the swashbuckling rapier-like attacking force with Saka out. And I do think that our front three is in such telepathically good form that whilst we set up safety first, I think, but I think we'll really have an opportunity to get into their box on the transition on the break. So
yeah, I 100% agree.
I think that's the way to do it. I don't know whether that means Willock. Maybe you start with Longstaff, and if we're still there with 20 minutes to go, you bring Willock on and we go for it.
Yeah, there's definitely a number of ways that we can approach the game. I think it's one of those that at the Emirates, knowing you're taking it back to St James's Park, the worst, you've just got to keep it tight if you can. If we can get the game back to St James's with anything less than a 1-0 deficit, down to maybe even taking all three, well, not all 3 points, but a 1-0 lead going into the second leg or something like that, a 1-goal lead, then I think realistically it's Newcastle's to lose in that case, because at St James's Park, that semi-final, I mean, the ballot today for tickets, an hour wait to enter a ballot. I've never seen anything like that in my life. So the atmosphere, you just know, is going to be fantastic.
Well,
so if you can get a result.
I was going to say, when Iain was saying you could bring Willock on to chase it, I don't know if we will. I honestly believe, and I was saying this to anybody who would listen to us today, if Newcastle play at home like we know they can, and the crowd are in it like we know they can be, and the influence they can have on that game, like look at Aston Villa when we got the second goal, they just couldn't live with us, and we just didn't know how to respond to the noise, the crowd, the jeers. It was just unbelievable. If we can be in that type of mood and that type of performance on the second leg, I honestly think as long as we're not more than 2 goals behind, we'll go through. If we play like that, I'm not saying we want to be 2 goals behind, of course we don't, but if we play like we did against Aston Villa at home, under the lights, on a Wednesday night, I think it is Wednesday, not a Tuesday, and we are on form and the fans are fully behind the team and the atmosphere is rocking, I honestly think even if we're 3-1 down or 2-0 down, I still think we'll get an early goal and Arsenal just fold. We'll just collapse and we'll go through. I genuinely believe if we can put that performance in a month's time, as long as we're not more than 2 behind, I think we'll be okay in the tie overall. But it all depends. We don't want to be in a position where we have to put that type of performance in to go through. Of course, we'd much rather get a 1-0 away win and still play well at home.
Ironically, and conversely, I have a completely opposite view, Kev. I think our best chance of getting ahead in this tie is to surprise them tomorrow night. They have.
We'll beat them at home.
They have key players missing. They're probably expecting us to go and do the old low block, and I do think we should go safety first. However, I think we should be ready to spring because I think we can do some real damage. And on the other hand, if it is a draw and they come back, I know we beat them 1-0 earlier in the season at home, but I also remember back to losing 2-0 at home to them the season before that when we were all out and we were in good form and the crowd were right up for it and they just unpicked us. Odegaard,
they're not as good as that though anymore. I don't think they're as good as what we were 2 years ago. I genuinely think if we can just, again, I'm not saying I want to be 2 goals behind, but just no more than 2 goals down. I mean, 1 goal down, not the end of the world. A draw, I think, would be a great result. I honestly believe at home with the right atmosphere and the players bang up for it, I think we'll beat them at home. I really do.
No, well, I do too. I think we can beat anyone at home. I think we can beat anyone at Wembley as well in the final if we get that far.
Oh, I'm not going that far yet. I was there last time.
Cursed at Wembley.
Bring on the bin dippers. If we get a Liverpool that played against Manchester United yesterday, then we will.
Yeah, but at the same time, they'd probably be hoping for the Newcastle that played in the second half against Tottenham. So I think Man United are the only team that seems to benefit from
that is a Newcastle, Michael. That is a Newcastle that didn't concede a goal that you're talking about.
It's true.
That played in the second half against Tottenham.
True. 10 men behind the ball did tend to work for us. It never used to, but it does now, so happy days. But it's interesting that you mentioned the 2-0 at St James's Park, because I thought Martin Odegaard dominated the game that day. And it's one of those where I've got written down that Odegaard coming back, he came back, I believe, around about the time we played them earlier in the season. I can't remember if it was our game, but I think it was relatively close, at least. And I think a fully fit Martin Odegaard changes the way that Arsenal play completely, and it doesn't look like he's quite there yet, and he might be for that second leg. So Iain might be right. Maybe tomorrow night or tonight as this goes out might just be the time to hit Arsenal.
They've had a few players missing with illness, you see, which against Brighton.
Yeah.
Was it? Am I thinking against the Brighton game or the game beforehand? was it Rice and Odegaard are sitting on the bench because they hadn't been very well. Havertz hasn't been seen in either of the last 2 games because he's ill.
Yeah.
So it might just be. I agree with you, Kev. I mean, getting back level pegging, and we're at home, we've got to feel like we're going to beat them at home. But I do think we've got a better chance than we would have thought when the draw was made of actually coming back with a lead. Because
I kind of want Havertz back because he's just so. Well, he obviously celebrated his birthday recently, hasn't he, with Christmas? But he's banging form. He's absolutely flying. Like goals against, I think he got a stupid amount of goals against Palace. I think he scored in the last game. He's in good form. I don't want him to play.
Yeah, he's a very good player. And to end the first part, I do have one quite negative stat, so I am going to get it out the way early. I don't want to dampen any spirits.
We were relying on you to have something like that, Michael.
But can anyone tell me how many cup matches Newcastle and Arsenal have played since Newcastle's last victory over Arsenal in a cup competition?
Ooh.
I'm looking for the number of games.
Is it a trick question in that we've never won a cup match against Arsenal?
No, we have. Quite a significant one.
That was a cup final, actually, wasn't it? Was it
maybe?
I can't remember which it was, 53 or 50, 52, 53, 55, one of them.
We won a cup. We won a cup in 52.
Yeah. It was the 1952 cup final.
Oh, wow.
Where Newcastle ended up lifting the trophy. We also beat Tottenham Hotspur that year, who we could, although very unlikely, play in the final. So potentially things repeat themselves.
Magic number.
That was the last win, Kev. 52.
8. 8 times I think we played them in a cup since 52, surely.
Oh.
9's magic when you. I'm not going to nick any more answers because Ian's doing it. I'm going to go 8. I've said 8 now, so I'm going.
Okay. What are you saying, Ian?
Well, I've no idea. I'd be surprised if we come out in the cup against Arsenal 8 times in 7. That's only once every 10 years. 12 times, Michael.
Oh, Kev, you are closer. It is in fact 9.
Oh, I was going to go 9 as well after your reaction.
Yes, the last one was in 1952. We drew them in 2002 and managed to get a draw. But every other time, Arsenal have come out victorious.
Great time.
That's the end of any negativity. We're going to be positive going forward, and we've got to start that positivity with a fantastic advert from Zencastr.
Was that me? That was you, wasn't it? Oh, it was me. And it's the lovely, lovely new Zencastr advert.
Yes.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
And we are back. Thank you very much, Iain, for that lovely read of the new exquisite advert.
It actually was my first read of that new advert, but I think Nicola's been reading that advert for at least the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, anyway, I've been reading it as well. On this pod, we don't tend to do adverts the right way. But it's fine, because they sound better than every other podcast on the Global Sports Podcast Network, because we are just that good. But ahead of the match at the Emirates on Tuesday night, Newcastle United have some players missing through injuries and suspensions. Confirmed to be missing the game are Bruno, Emil Kraft, Callum Wilson, Jamal Lascelles, Nick Pope and Fabian Schär. Now, with that in mind, I think we all expect Martin Dubravka to start. We agree there?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, spot on. So I'm going to start off with how we would line up defensively. Kev, what would your line up at the back be?
Personally, I think Tino had a great game against Spurs, which is quite funny because me and Michael were the two early on in the Spurs game in the group chat who were saying, not fully convinced, but then to be fair, he had a blinder of a game. Even though Tino had a blinder of a game, there's something about still having Trippier at the back. I think early on in the Tottenham game, Shaw and Trippier was such a big miss. It's always a lot calmer with them. We never really seem rushed at the back with them too. It always seems quite calm and in control. I personally would bring Trippier back in. I know it's not going to be a popular opinion after how well Tino played. But I'd have Trippier back in. And then I think the centre-halves, I think Botman is a doubt. I mean, he's just played 90-ish minutes after 9 months out. Has he really got another 90 minutes in him? 3 days, 4 days later? That's a big ask, especially on the muscles and ligaments and stuff, which weren't training when he was injured. So it might be, personally, I would play Botman and Burn, Trippier right back with Hall left back, but I think I would not blame Howe if he kept Tino in and brought in Lloyd Kelly. Because again, the last thing we want is Botman to get a setback. We need Botman really for that home leg, and I think Kelly's probably got enough about him to get us through this game. That doesn't mean a win or a draw, but like you said before, maybe just one behind. I think I would not take, but would be acceptable, I guess. So yeah, that'd be my back line. But I'm not fully convinced by it. You can tell probably by the way I'm trying to explain it. I'm not fully convinced by back line because Tino did play so well. He's got a tough job, Eddie.
Yeah, it's great to have good options.
I'd like to reassure you, Kev. Tino only made the team because Kieran Trippier was a bit poorly on the match against Tottenham. So I think Trippier will come back in, particularly because Shah's not there. I think you're right, absolutely right. Trippier will start. Maybe he'll come off after an hour and Tino can come back in. Tino's shown that he's ready.
Yeah,
but I think he'll want the calming influence and the delivery from set pieces that Trippier will bring, because that might be our best chance.
I was also thinking he'll be captain because Bruno's suspended. So then you've got a natural, ready-made replacement captain on the pitch. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Now, listening to what Eddie said in his press conference at lunchtime on Monday, Sven Botman was ready to go for the Aston Villa match, but picked up a little bit of a virus or something, and therefore he's played 3 games for the under-23s and games behind closed doors, 11-a-side games. Yeah, he went through 90 minutes, but it's into injury time before he goes down with a little bit of cramp.
Yeah,
I think Botman starts alongside Burn. I think he'd be better to start with than he was when he first came back. That rustiness will have been cleared out, and yeah, we might have to manage his time. You might have Lloyd Kelly coming in. If Lloyd Kelly's coming in to protect a 2-goal lead at 70 minutes, then wonderful. But I think you've got to start with your best team when you go away at Arsenal. I think it's Trippier and Botman will come in.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, I was going to ask the question of, do you think there are any chances that Newcastle drop into a back 5? Because of how important this game is for our season, maybe we do risk just having that extra defender in there because we know Botman isn't 100%. Lloyd Kelly's not going to be 100% either. I don't think he's had minutes in 4 or 5 games. So, with that, if it's one, instead of one or the other, why not both? Survive the early onslaught and then get a bit more attacking later in the game. Thought I had, but what do you think? Is it a possibility at all?
I think the main reason that probably won't happen is all 3 of them are left-footed. So then you're going to have to play one of them right centre-half as a left foot. I know he's doing that with Botman at the minute, or he played Botman there, didn't he?
Botman, yeah.
But then I think to have a central defender left-footed, left centre defender left-footed, and a right centre defender left-footed, and then Lewis Hall left-footed, the balance, Howe loves balance, he loves that, and I also think as well, why we should worry about them less, and I think Howe will think that. Let them worry about us. We'll go 4-3-3. Wherever one's in good form, wherever one's 6 on the bounce, wherever one's Isaac can't stop scoring, let Arsenal adapt to us for a change rather than us being a team who are a little bit, should we mix it? I see what you're saying though, but I think there's 2 reasons. I think it's all because we're left-footed, and I also think let them worry about us a little bit because we're the ones in form.
I would add, no way, Michael, because we've conceded, 2 goals in 6 games? And largely...
We have played utter dog, though.
Largely...
Teams, not us.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Spurs and Villa.
Spurs, Villa, Man U.
Villa had 10 men, Man United a dog. Just relegated teams are dog.
Man United attack. The Man United attack was Højlund and Diallo and somebody else down the left who I've forgotten. But I mean, the attack wasn't. The attack wasn't that bad. Still, I think we made them look like that. They got nowhere because of how well Tonali screens the back four. And if he's the back man in our 3-man midfield, if you put Longstaff in alongside him, I think you end up with a little bit more defensive security than when Bruno's playing, because they naturally will want to be covering themselves. So, I don't think we need 5 at the back. I mean, Joe Linton would be the one who would be coming back to become a 5th person if you need him anyway, wouldn't he, from the left side?
That'll be the important change. I think it'll be the Longstaff or the Willock change, personally, which will affect more how we play or how we set up in that game. I think if it's a Longstaff, expect us to counter-attack. I think if it's Willock, I think he might try and go for them, which I still say that with hesitation now because it's Arsenal away and years and years and years of us getting pumped away to Arsenal. It doesn't really seem right. Let them worry about us. And if he plays Willock, we're going to go at them. But it's brilliant as a fan. And again, I'm just going to add, I agree with Iain about the teams we played. I think you can only beat what's in front of you. But I think everybody was expecting us to slip up against either Man United, Tottenham or Villa, and we didn't slip up against any of them. So we have nothing really at the minute to be fearful of, to be scared of. Yes, Bruno's a huge miss. I think Fabian Schär's just the biggest miss. You look at how calm we are at the back. And I know defensively it's not normally his game, but we never seem to be scattering around and last-minute clearances as much with Schär. It does seem a lot more relaxed. I think he's going to be a huge miss. But still, are Arsenal going to change it? Are they going to play a second team? Are they going to play some of the kids? I think that Waneri's even injured. They're kind of golden boy at the minute. I think he's doubtful. So why not get at them? Why not attack them? Why not go into that second leg with a lead?
They've also got a huge amount of Premier League games coming up. Really, really tough Premier League games. Now, I should have done my research, shouldn't I, Michael? But they've got 3 big teams. I'm not sure if it's Forest, City and Chelsea or something that they've got coming up in the next 3 Premier League matches. So it may be that their eyes on that, because that must surely be their priority, rather than the boring old Carabao Cup that they've won loads of times.
Yeah, and that probably is actually a good point. And on that good point, I think it's probably time that we go to our second advert of the day from the Global Sports Podcast Network.
And just to make Michael even happier than what he already is, it's the GSPN new advert as well.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Not just using the old ones. The Global Sports Podcast Network is changing the face of football podcasting with dedicated daily content for every Premier League team, women's football, a dedicated Premier League wrap-up in 5 different languages. This is your one-stop shop for your daily football fix. Find the GSPN wherever you find your usual podcasts. Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day. I still have to add that bit in.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much.
How many clubs, Michael?
Like 1, something like that. It's not very big. 20, but you should only listen to the Daily Newcastle.
Ooh.
But we are back, and we've briefly touched on Bruno Guimaraes throughout the episode. How much, I can't even remember. But we've mentioned potentially playing 5 at the back. We've squashed that. That's out the way. But if we do go with our 4-3-3, is there the potential that we go with the same midfield 3 and the same front 3, Bruno, Futanali, obviously being the rotation, because Bruno's suspended, as we did in the first game, which would mean Joe Linton left wing, Gordon right wing, and then Willock and Longstaff in central midfield. Certainly give us a lot more defensively, and it worked at St. James's Park. But can you take out Jacob Murphy in the form he's in? What do you think?
That's a great point, but I mean, that would be so harsh on Murphy, wouldn't it? He's got a ridiculous amount of goal contributions in his last 4 or 5 games, and
it's been fantastic.
I think what's strange is, and I still can't believe I'm about to say this out loud, but I'm going to say it out loud because it's only fair, is that our upturn in form has coincided with Jacob Murphy pretty much coming into the team and finding his feet. I know he was in the team against Brentford when we lost 4-2, but he still got 2 assists in that game. And then he's had a goal contribution in every game since. So I think that would be harsh, although I do like that idea you've just floated. I didn't even think about Michael, but I do love Joe Linton and Willock. Kind of
left mid and left wing,
dovetailing before, yeah. Where they're in and out of that position, and it's really hard for the opposition to know exactly which one should be where. I do like the idea of that, and that's really tempting, but I think Howe will stick to his principles. I think he'll reward the players who are in form. I think it's for Howe, I think it's a big decision in terms of do I bring in Willock or do I bring in Longstaff? Willock's had the chance more recently, but we'll see what Ian's got to say.
Disagree with you, Kevin.
Oh,
I think Eddie has said several times recently that he likes, since he switched to a settled lineup, that we've had the success. So I think what you're looking for is somebody who can do the Bruno role, and that's neither Willock nor Longstaff. I would bring Lewis Miley in. Because Lewis Miley is the man who can pass between the lines, who can find those weird angles.
Can't put Miley ahead of M2 at the minute.
I could.
It'd be a big risk.
That would be a huge risk.
It might be a big risk, but I would. I would, because I think he's head and shoulders above that pair. He's different class.
It's a bold statement, but it's not one that... To be honest, on Miley's day, we saw last season, he is an absolutely fantastic player. Well, considering how much I know you like Joe Willock, I am surprised by that statement, Ian.
No, I would play. I think you want Tonali playing his role, and you assume that Tonali's been training with Miley all of the time that Miley's been fit again this season.
You'd imagine so.
That's far more like Miley's on the right. He's a replacement. He's a natural replacement for Bruno, and with a similar end product. I don't think you get that with Longstaff or...
I tell you what, how much has Lewis Miley paid in here? Similar end product with Bruno. He's 18 years old.
Yeah, so...
If he had a similar end product to Bruno, he'd be playing for Real Madrid at that age.
Oh, well, he hasn't played yet this season, has he? But he wasn't overawed playing at Paris.
He wasn't, but that was through... I think you've got to bring... I think personally I'd bring Willock in, but whichever one Howe chooses is great, but that's a big, big call. I do like Lewis Miley, but I just think, it was hard enough bringing him in last season under a ridiculous amount of scrutiny with all the injuries and the big games, like you said, like the PSG game. To then say you've played about 2 minutes off the bench this season, you're going to come back into a League Cup semi-final away from home is too much of a big ask. I think Eddie will protect him a little bit more than that.
I don't think Eddie will pick him, but I think that's the most natural replacement for Bruno that we have. And he'll be fit now. And I think it would surprise them.
That could either age really, really well or could age like milk. I'm not sure which one it's going to age like. But
I'm watching a lot of 18-year-olds tearing up the Premier League at the moment. The guy who you said is injured, who stepped in and took over from Saka, looks fantastic. And he's 17. If he's fit, he'll play. But I don't know why you think Miley's going to be overawed. He's got some enforcers around him just in case someone tries to knock him out. But
I don't know if he's been playing for physically. I don't know if he's been playing for the under-21s or like minutes in the legs, the high intensity of this game. It's not that I think he'll be overawed. I just think there's a big expectation for when he comes back. I think it'll be harder this time. I think when he comes into the team next time, it'll be harder for him. Because there is not an expectation, but there is a little bit more expectation on him this time. Whereas if he came in last time and was dog, as Michael put it, then it would have been like, oh, he's a young kid, give him a break, get off his back. Whereas now we know he is a good player, so I think the expectation is slightly increased to the point where we now expect him to come in and be very effective. So I think it would be too much. I think it would overawe him a little bit coming back with that expectation for a semi-final.
Well, I think he's a level-headed lad. Wouldn't overawe him. I think he'd come in and be the match winner, mate.
I hope, if it happens, honestly, if he comes off a bench and scores a goal, I so hope that happens. I love Lewis Miley, I really do. I think Eddie will be sat at home thinking, is it Willock or Longstaff? Maybe.
I think you're right. I think you're right. But I think that puts us on the back foot. I think
Willock doesn't put us on the back foot. I think Willock really gives us an opportunity to have another runner from deep. The running power of Willock and Joe Linton in the midfield with Tonali, I think that midfield could be very good if we were to play together more, but we're never going to play together more because Bruno is so good. But personally, my choice would be Willock. I think I've talked myself into it now. But Longstaff, don't forget, the home game against Arsenal this season, Longstaff was the best player on the pitch. I can't believe I'm saying that either. But I think was it Joe came on the podcast after that and said Longstaff was fantastic, undeniable. So it's good that we have players in form and we have options. And to be honest, I did forget a little bit about Lewis Miley. I kind of want to see Miley play now. I really want to see him play now. Ian's convinced us. He's convinced us he's a man to come in and replace Bruno.
I've got Joe Willock as the surprise player of the season for Newcastle. So maybe this is the game where he'll come in and win that place. And I know Bruno will come back. It might be Joe Linton.
He's already got a League Cup goal, Willock, as well. He scored against Forest.
Yeah. Earliest goal of the season, I believe, or did Ipswich take over? The goal against Ipswich take over that?
Oh, it'll be close. I think it was 21 seconds or something, or 22 seconds. Willock wanted Forest.
Either way, beautifully early. But I actually really agree. I think it's one of those where I think in 3 months' time, I'd probably be saying, get Miley on. But I think the fact he hasn't started a game for us this season and the magnitude of the game, I mean, you said you agreed with Kev yourself. There's 100% he's going to go Willock or Longstaff.
Yeah.
But you would love to see Lewis Miley on that pitch. And, well, I guess with that, we're all in agreement that the front three is very likely going to be Gordon, Isak and Murphy.
Yeah, I agree. I think none of them can be dislodged at the minute.
All right, well, in that case, I'll go on to sort of the lineup we're expecting from Arsenal. So what we're expecting is David Raya in goal, Thomas Partey, William Saliba, Gabriel and Lewis Skelly at the back. Odegaard, Rice and Jorginho in midfield with Trossard, Jesus and Martinelli up front. It's a strong lineup despite the injuries. Is there any names that stand out there who may be danger men on Tuesday? What do you think, Iain?
I don't think Trossard, Jesus and Martinelli is as scary a forward line as Son, Solanke and Johnson.
I'd agree,
Or Kulusevski. I don't think we should have anything to fear tomorrow. My prediction is just getting more and more up. The more we talk
3-1
about
is
it,
back on.
the more we talk about it, 3-1 might be coming out there. I don't know. But I'm not scared. I think their top men are either injured or recovering from a virus. So, and if Declan Rice is in the middle, at centre of midfield, so what? Most overrated 100 million player that there is.
Oh, somebody else who agrees with me. It's a wonderful thing to hear. Is Odegaard playing for Arsenal?
Yes, it's very likely that he'll come back.
He's the problem. He's for one.
Yes.
If you keep him quiet, you stop them ticking, you take the engine out of the car, so to speak.
I agree.
And it's lots of fancy, lovely parts, but the engine's not there, it won't work. So I think Odegaard is for one to stop. I've got a weird feeling Gabriel's going to get sent off tonight. I've got no idea why. I've just got a feeling
odds on that.
We're going to be at them early. I'm hoping we're going to be sprinting at them. Gordon's going to knock it and run. I just think Gabriel's going to absolutely fly through them. Is it even in place? I haven't got a clue. Both Premier League clubs both have the availability for it. Is VAR in?
I believe it should be, but
I think
I'm not
it must be because we're trialing that thing now where we announce it to the stadium. The referee.
Great point.
It's clearly back. And I honestly think Gabriel, I don't know if he's just a little bit silly or whatever, but he'd be thinking, there's no VAR on the cup, blah, blah, blah. Smash through Anthony Gordon, red card, and all of a sudden we're thinking, no way can we blow him away and be 4-0 up into the second leg, and they're playing a second team full of kids in the semi-final second leg because Newcastle's 4-0 up. Imagine if that's the case, Bowie. Total bringing positivity for you at the end of this episode. Have a bit of that.
Oh, God. Kev's been drinking whatever it was he was on at the start of the last one we did.
I'm tipping now, but I want some. But yeah, I completely
I don't think we'll beat them 4-0, but I've just got a weird feeling they're going to get a man sent off, and I have zero idea why I think that. It's just a funny feeling I've got.
Yeah. To be honest, with Thomas Partey and Lewis Skelly as the full-backs or the wing-backs, it is relatively likely that they're going to struggle with our pace and our precision down the wings with Murphy and Gordon. But going into our predictions, Iain, I'll let you start first. What are you going with?
How bullish am I really? I shall go for a 2-1 win for Newcastle. There you go.
Hope you're right.
Delightful.
Please be right.
Well, what are you going for there, Kevin?
By the way, you do know, by the way, that I'm on a run of about. I didn't have a prediction in the Tottenham game. But the previous 4 matches, I've got 4-0s and 3-0s and 3-1s. Bang on. So we're winning tomorrow 2-1.
I'll take that every day.
I really want to have the cojones, and I want to say 4-0, man sent off, Newcastle going to batter them. I don't have them cojones, unfortunately. I'm going to go... I do fancy us, but at the same time, I think both sets of play... Will we be nervous? I don't know. I'm going to go...
Not with Trippier playing. Trippier will have them all chilled.
Yeah, I was going to go 2-1 Newcastle, but Iain's took that one, so I'm going to go...
You can back it.
2-2.
2-2.
I'll take that right now. I'll take 2-2 now and get them back to St James's and absolutely batter them at St James's.
Okay. Well, I want to end it on a positive note, so I'm just going to leave it there. No, I'm kidding. I do actually think we'll steal the game. I think we'll steal it with a goal from a set piece. It's going to be difficult to keep a clean sheet.
Can't cope with the excitement anymore.
Gabby Neville.
Oh, tell me, mommy, ma.
We're off to Wembley. But everyone speaks about how good Arsenal are at scoring from set pieces, that people don't actually realise that out of every team in the Premier League, they actually have one of the highest percentages conceded of their goals from set pieces. I think it's so... I mean, don't be wrong, Wolves, Man United, miles ahead of everyone, but Arsenal... just behind. And if we have Sven Botman and Dan Burn at the back, Joe Linton's there, Isak's there, 60th, 70th minute corner, whipped in, bullish header, Newcastle 1-0, and that is how it finishes.
The scenes.
We'll take it.
With that, that's all from us today.
I can't believe we've got three away wins predicted, honestly. Collectively have been smoking something.
I went 2-2.
Yeah, but you would have had 2-1.
I've went 2-2 and getting them back to St James's, and then we'll batter them at St James's. I don't know. I think I'm getting a bit excited, obviously, but I don't know. It's Arsenal away. It's so hard to predict a win for me. Arsenal away. I don't know.
Yeah,
look, just we're notoriously good in London.
Remember Arsenal 0, Everton 0 from 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
In that case, put us down for a 5 now. No Bruno, but we'll still be. That's what's worrying us. I think it's we have the best midfield. We are now starting to get called the best midfield in the Premier League. However, we are without one of the most influential ones. I know Joe Linton's a massive influence, and Tonali looks great, but Bruno for the last 3 years has just been magnificent for Newcastle, and I really worry about missing him. And I still think, as much as Newcastle did really well against Spurs, I still think Fabian Shaw in games like this is a big miss as well. That's why I'm a little bit more reluctant getting it back to St James's. With them 2 players back, I think we'll get through with tie. Go on.
Can I add one stat, which I thought Michael would have, but maybe he was trying not to be negative.
I do have a few that I'm not negative about. So
since Bruno joined the club, he's only missed 7 games. Newcastle have won none of the games that he hasn't played in. That's true. It's a fact. But hey, records like that are there to be broken.
Have a great day, everybody.
Sandro Tonali's never been in the form he is. We're going to pull it back and pull it back. We're not ending on a negative.
Of course, of emotions for me, this one. I'm all singing Tell Me Mammy Ma, and then I'm absolutely gutted. I don't know what's going on.
Ian's absolutely correct. And no matter how it ends, if Newcastle do make it 8 defeats, should I say, or 8 games without a win, without Bruno Guimaraes, or we defy the odds and we come away from the Emirates, I'll get me words out when I can, I'm so nervous, with a 1-0 victory, or 2-1, or even a 4-0, as we mentioned, it would be scenes on Tyneside.
And if somebody does get sent off, of course, they won't be available to play in the second leg.
Lucky them.
I'm back happy again now. Someone got sent off. Get in. How we have a tune? Come on.
Kevin Iain will be back tomorrow for the post-match reactions. And from me, well, you'll see me sometime.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.